Good evening, Northern Colorado. This is 0NYY, November 0, November Yankee Yankee. My name is Bart. I'm in Evans, Colorado, and I will be net control for this evening's NCARC TechNet. The purpose of the NCARC TechNet is to provide an opportunity for all hams, new and old, to get a chance to answer or to ask questions and to get answers from a very large wealth of experience that will probably be present on the air this evening. This is an ideal opportunity for anyone who wishes to get answers to questions you've always had or questions you've just thought of or plans you're making and you want a little bit of direction. This would be an ideal evening to ask those questions to get that direction. I want everybody to know that the purpose of this net is to answer questions primarily for new people, but experienced people as well, and provide a platform where you don't have to feel that your question is silly or dumb. There's no such thing as a dumb question if you're sincere in asking it. During the net, if anyone has any emergency traffic, please say break, and we will allow you to use the repeater, get your emergency handled, whatever it may be, and we will wait until you tell us you are done to resume the net. Is there any emergency or priority traffic this evening? Please call now. All right, we will take check-ins this evening in groups of 3. After 3, I will read back the call signs, acknowledge each one, and go on to the next group of 3. If you attempted to check in, but you did not hear me read back your call sign, odds are you doubled with someone who was able to cover you. Just go ahead and try again. I would like to have each call sign given alphabetically, such as N0NYY. Then I would like to have it repeated phonetically, November 0, November Yankee Yankee. Please use the standard ITU phonetics. Everyone should be familiar with them. If you're not, let someone know and we'll get you a copy of it. It's pretty easy to Google it and find it. Oh, and when you give your call sign, then give me your name and your location. The purpose of that is so that people can get an idea how widespread the net might be, or if, hey, there's somebody in the town that I live in and maybe I could sit down and talk with them sometime. It lets people know where you are and know where to find you. We will start with check-ins from people with call signs, with the suffix of your call sign, the part after the number, beginning in alpha through Mike. And again, we'll go 3 at a time. Any call signs ending in alpha through Mike, please call now.
Good evening, Bart. This is Kilo 0, Hotel Alpha Kilo, K0HAK, Dave in Fort Collins. I do have a question, but I am currently driving, so if there's anybody that wants to go ahead of me, please call on them first. I'll be destinated in a few minutes.
Alpha Echo 0, Charlie Foxtrot, 80 CF, Ben, Fort Collins.
This is Kilo 0, Tango November Papa, TJ in Windsor. Am I too late to check in?
Nope, TJ, I'm sorry. Yeah. TJ, did you say you were in Windsor? I'm sorry, I wasn't writing quickly enough.
Yes, that is correct. TJ in Windsor, Kilo 0, Tango November Papa. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And one thing I forgot to say when checking in, please speak slowly. My old fingers have to write as fast as you're talking. It's just a challenge. So you're not just getting it out there for people to hear, you're getting it out there for someone to write it down as well. Now would like to acknowledge K0HAK, AE0CF, and K0TNB, Dave, Ben, and TJ. Next 3, go ahead and call net control now. Suffixes beginning with alpha through Mike only, please.
Kilo 3, Sierra Alpha Delta. Kilo 3, Sierra Alpha Delta. George in Windsor, go down.
Kilo 0, Alpha Zulu Alpha, K0AZA, Ron in Fort Collins.
KF0 GZZ, Kilo Fox 0, Golf Zulu Zulu, Patrick, Mobile to Greeley.
All right, very good. Now would like to acknowledge K3SAD, good evening, George. K0AZA, my friend Ron, and KF0GZZ, Patrick. Next three, go ahead, please. Suffixes ending in alpha through Mike.
This is Foxtrot 0, Golf, Quebec, India, Doc in Pierce.
This is Kilo 0, Lima, Echo, Echo, K0LEE, Lee, in Greeley.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 0, Bravo Tango Bravo, KF0 BTB, Pete in Timoth.
All right, we'll take a break there and acknowledge KF0GQI, K0LEE, KF0BTB, Doc, Lee, and Pete. Next three, go ahead. This is M0NYY, net control for this evening's TechNet. Sounded like somebody was coming in on one of the other repeaters. It was nothing but noise. That last station, go ahead and try again, please. I believe I heard a Kilo Foxtrot 0. That was all I was able to copy out of that transmission. You will either need to either bring up your power or increase your elevation, switch to a better antenna or a better radio. I'm not able to copy you right at this time. Go ahead and give it one more shot and we'll see if we can get it through.
Apologies, that's Lima Delta Sierra. In Lakewood, Norval. Thank you.
KF0LDS. Got it, Norval. Thanks for sticking with me there. Pretty rough at first, and then you came through really, really well. So that second round there, that did the trick. All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to all suffixes. Again, give your call sign alphabetically, give your call sign phonetically, your name and your location, and please speak slowly so I can write. Next three stations, go ahead, all suffixes.
Is KB0YDN, Kilo Bravo 0, Yankee Delta November, Eric, Mobile, heading Pinewood Reservoir, with a question coming away.
This is K5SGC, Kilo 5, Sierra, Golf, Charlie. Dave in Fort Collins.
W5VV, Whiskey 5, Victor Victor, Bill in Livermore.
KF0NRM, Ken in Berthoud.
Okay, I had double traffic at the end there. Berthoud Station, go again, please.
This is KF0NRM, Kilo Foxtrot 0, November Romeo Mike, Ken in Berthoud.
All right, and I would like to acknowledge KB0YDN Eric, K5SGC Dave, W5VV Bill, and KF0NRM Tim. All right, next group of three, please call net control now.
Kilo, Golf, 6, Oscar, Bravo, Charlie, Justin, Mobile, Fort Collins, with a question for later.
KG6OBC, what was your name again? I'm sorry. I know you said it, but I missed it.
The name here is Justin, Juliet, Uniform, Sierra, Tango, India, November.
Got it. KG6OBC, Justin, thank you. Okay, well, that was one. Let's try to get three more. Go ahead.
Good evening, Bart. This is Whiskey 0 Alpha Sierra Papa, W0ASP, Terry in Berthoud.
Well, I will go ahead and immediately recognize Terry, W0ASP. Terry, it is great to hear you. It's been a long time since you and I have talked. I hope you're doing well. All right, any more check-ins? And, Justin, I got a note that you had a question as well. Next group of three check-ins, please. Go ahead. All right, well, we will take a moment here for check-ins at this time. By the way, anybody is welcome to check in anytime you want. If you wish to interrupt the net for a non-emergency, my preference is just throw out your suffix. I would just key up and say NYY, and I would wait to hear to get acknowledged, and then you can go ahead and finish your check-in. So, let's see. Dave, K0HAK, are you still mobile, or have you gotten stationary?
Thanks, Bart. No, I am destinated, and I'm
back at the base station now. Just a quick question, though. How is my audio? This is a new antenna for me.
I will rate your audio as excellent. It is crisp and clear. It is not overdriven. And I will point out that unless your signal is really marginal, the antenna won't normally have a large effect on audio. I say that with about 90% confidence. There are certainly things that can happen and weirdnesses that go on, and the antenna can cause or not cause RF feeding back into your audio, which can mess it up pretty bad. You sound to me crystal clear. That antenna, I would say, is working well. You are also full quieting into the repeater.
Okay, good to hear. Biggest reason I ask is because it's a Yagi and it's not pointed. It's a very, very high gain Yagi and not really pointed right at the repeater. So just kind of catching it on a side lobe. My question is about some recent new behavior developments using APRS. Just to give a little background, I'm going to let this drop for a sec. So I've got the Kenwood D710 in my truck, and I've been running it for, I don't know, several years now. And I run APRS every single time I turn it on. But here in the last couple of weeks, I've been getting some weird messages that pop up on my screen with a beep, and it draws my attention while I'm driving. And I just kind of would like to get some help either figuring out what they mean or how to turn it off. Or maybe like trying to get to the source of it to understand why this is happening. And I'm going to let this drop again. So what happens is I get a message, my radio beeps, and it pops up and it says DX, like, long distance, mode or whatever, or, communications, Delta X-ray. And then it has a call sign after it. It says N6GN-2, November 6, Golf November-2, and it says sound mode, and then some numbers, and then underneath that it says 308 degrees from W0WAL-1, 18 miles. Now, it seems like to me that somebody is doing some kind of a DX packet cluster for a station that's only, a dozen or so miles away, but I don't understand why they're doing it, and I don't know how to opt out of it. Does anybody know how to configure that, or is anybody else seeing this?
SAD?
SAD, go ahead. George, your audio is really, really light. If you can close in on your mic, it would help. Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say it sounds serious, so if he wants to unload that radio, I'll dispose of it for him. But beyond that, I don't have any input.
Third pass.
And this is N0NYY net control for this evening's TechNet. A question on the floor from Dave about the DX message on APRS. I haven't played with APRS enough to be of any help at all, and none of the guys that I know are really well skilled with APRS seem to be on this evening. Does anyone else have any input on this situation for Dave?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
I'm not sure if I understand the question, but it almost seems like, well, the thing is that the location of both the receiver and the transmitter are known, supposedly, if they transmit GPS coordinates each, and you can definitely calculate the heading from that. So, can you clarify the question a bit?
Yeah, so it seems to me like, I don't know, there's, in case there's some tropospheric ducting or something going on, sometimes you can tell that there's, an opening in VHF based on an APRS packet being received long distance, right? And I'm guessing that there's built into, I don't know if it's built into Kenwood's or built into all APRS-based rigs, there is the ability to alert people via an APRS message that there was a long distance APRS packet received, and it gives you the ability to tune to that, and then perhaps have a QSO with somebody very far away, using some some, propagation methods. But the thing is, though, is number one, the two call signs that are on this particular message are close to me, like, under 20 miles. So there's no DX occurring, first of all. So I don't know if somebody has a misconfigured rig, or I'm not personally interested in DXing on VHF, so I don't know if anybody knows how to configure the D710 to just ignore these packets. Go ahead.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. The only thing I can think of is that some of these quote-unquote DX, I put in quotes because it's probably not really DX, is if it had to go through more than one hop in order to get to you, it's like out of a digipeater. So I don't know. That's a little past me as far as I understand APRS protocol. Is it easier? Yeah.
ETE.
Aha. KA6 ETE, Jim in Loveland. I am checking you in, and you are one of the guys that I was hoping would show up and give an answer. Did you hear the question?
I did not hear the full question. I just caught the last half of the previous transmission. So if you can repeat the full question again, please.
Sure, Jim. So, I've been running this D710 in my truck for a number of years, running APRS, and in the last couple of weeks I've been seeing these DX packet cluster messages coming across, but the two call signs that are referenced are very close to me, very close to each other, in fact, and it's always the same two call signs. I just didn't know if you knew, do you know if there's a way to opt out of packet cluster messages? I don't really have any interest in DXing from my, D710 in my truck, and this seems like a misconfigured message that's coming from one of these two operators. So I just didn't know if you knew of a way to disable that or something. I don't know. Go ahead.
I'm assuming it's a full message that comes in, tells you you have an APRS message. I know it's the same on the D710 as with the FTM 400 and other stuff. I personally have used both. If you go into the APRS settings on the radio and go to group message, they come default with, I believe, 4 different message headers or group headers. One will be like the contact or different things. I can't remember what they all are. If you go into the group message setting and delete the pre-filled group identifiers that are in there, I know previous years I have set them up with like Aries, the Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery. We had one set up to where we would do a mass APRS message for teams in the field, stuff like that. You can set up almost like a WinLink address, except you would just call it like DX contact, and if you send an APRS message to DX contact, anyone that has that listed in their group message address book will receive that message. So that might be something to check and see if there's something in there, and just go in and delete the default settings, default addresses that are in there.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I can try that. I feel like this is a different mode of operation from the messaging function. I've looked in the messages list, and I don't see any messages there, but I actually can go into a different menu option. If you hit the F button, and then there's on the soft keys, on the left and right sides, there's a DX button that pops up, and you can hit that, and you can see those messages in there. It seems to be a different function, and I don't know. It's something new that just popped up. I didn't know if anybody else was seeing this, or if for some reason it's just me. I'm usually tuned to a simplex frequency on my B channel. Maybe they're sending APRS DX packets on that simplex channel for some reason. I don't know, but it doesn't sound like anybody else is seeing it, so maybe I'm just going crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I would go in there and see what's listed in the group calls. delete the default ones that are in there. Another thing you can do is you can individually pick what type of packets you want to receive. I can go through and get the list that I have mine set at. I know there's a lot in there, which a lot of them you don't need. The only ones I generally keep are the ones that people have in their vehicle, and then like the weather station beacons I'll keep. But that'd be another spot to check and see, make sure you're not receiving all the default ones. There's some in there that you can turn off or disable, so which will help eliminate some of that. I know another thing I generally do is, I don't know if you have yours set up for the APRS voice alert. It's where it pretty much ignores everything except for when someone's within simplex range of you, as far as hearing packets and seeing packets come across.
Yeah, thanks. Can you email that list to me that you have of those packet types? I do know what you're talking about, but I don't know which ones are actually like ones that I would want to pay attention to. So if you've got a starting point for that, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, I will do that. I'll pull them out of my radio and email it over to you. K6ET.
Thanks, Jim. K0HAK.
All right, this is N0NYY Net Control for this evening's NCARC TechNet. Dave, it sounds like your question got fairly well answered. If that's not correct, please say so. The other thing I would suggest, I can't remember if you said N6GN or N7GN. Both of those guys live in Fort Collins and have emails posted on QRZ. You might fire whoever that is, or look up whatever other stations appear to be involved. Fire them an email. Say, hey, this is me, I'm here, I hear this. Can you tell me what this is? And they would probably, if they're aware of it, they would probably say, yeah, this is this, and I do it because of that. Or, oh, gee, thanks, I didn't mean to leave that turned on, it was just an experiment. Or give you whatever the lowdown actually is.
Yeah, thanks, Bart. I can certainly try that route as well. K0HAK.
All right, I still have a question here from Eric and another question from Justin. Let me take a brief moment. Are there any other check-ins for the net this evening? Again, please give your call sign alphabetically and phonetically, followed by your name and location. Anyone wishing to check in, please call now. Okay, hearing none. KB0YDN, Eric, go ahead with your question, sir.
Thank you, Bart. I participate in a bunch of Facebook groups, and one of them is basically pictures of electronic parts. And one picture got presented. It was basically of some sort of power transistor in a TO3 case that had cracked down the middle, and according to the author in a later comment, thrown a glowing red particle across the room. It looked like he was trying to make a switcher supply of some kind. And the picture was titled, "Remember, kids, don't forget to put a snubber on your coils." To that end, I have a coaxial relay that's fed off the accessory power on my ICOM 7300. It's just 12-volt DC when it's powered up and powered down. To my knowledge, there is no relay flipping when I do that. It supplies it through some semiconductor. And I am wondering if, for the use case of a relay, I should put a snubber on there or not. I have appropriate diodes to do that. I just don't like the feel of resoldering all that because my soldering skills are getting iffier and iffier as time goes on. KB0YDN.
0NYY. Let me make sure I have it. So, devices that control relays typically have snubber or anti-flyback or RVP, reverse voltage protection diodes, built into them. Your car computer, the engine control module, anything that's driven with a relay, it has reverse protection diodes built in right on the circuit board. anytime you drive a relay with with an electronic device, you have a very high risk of damage from an inverse voltage spike if you do not use a protection diode. Ideally on the relay, less ideally on the circuit board. So to not have that, there are cases where it's okay to not have it. It's built in, like I said, on your car computer, but if you're using an Arduino or something, it does not have inverse protection diodes built into it, and you need to add them. You can very easily damage your circuitry over time with a few of those spikes. Sometimes one is enough. Depending on the current that the relay draws, you can see voltages 10, 20, 30 times your input voltage on that reverse spike, and it can do catastrophic damage to your upstream electronics. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, and rather urgently, too. It sounds like I need to do this right away, and to that end, I'll probably have to solder in that thing, and I just hope I don't make a mess out of the thing. But thank you, Bart. AB0YDN, back to net.
All right, this is N0NYY, net control for this evening's NCARC TechNet. Moving on down my list, KG6OBC. Justin, you had a question. Go ahead, sir.
On a side note, pleasure inadvertently meeting you there, Bart. About 2 Saturdays ago, I was a fella in the old Ford truck you're asking questions about. Had the stoplight there. I saw your license plate when you pulled away. Tried to catch up to you again, but 7-year-old truck just don't got the spunk that your little car there had.
Well, that was a mighty fine truck, and I appreciated seeing it greatly. Even though I'm not a Ford guy, I consider myself a Chevy guy, but I've had plenty of both. And seeing that truck just put a smile on my face, and you got to know that, because I know keeping them going is a lot of work, and I appreciated your efforts.
I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, when I got it, it wasn't running, and it was somebody else's project that I purchased, and they had it taken apart in various places. And anyways, it was interesting. Got it running last year for a show, and been trying to enjoy it. Anyway, to the actual business here, the question is, I have an HF radio and kind of toying with the idea of trying to set it up at the house. The situation I have is I rent a room. There's HOAs involved. Luckily, the landlord is a best friend of mine, so he's probably fairly lenient on antennas. The thought is to place a dipole antenna in the attic and set it up that way. My question is, the radio I have has a internal antenna tuner, and I was thinking about purchasing an external antenna tuner that would be more apt to experimenting with various antennas and antennas that possibly have high impedance, SWR, and all that fun stuff. So I was looking for a suggestion on a external antenna tuner to use separately. I will not use both tuners at the same time. I'm not particular to whether it's manual or auto, but I guess that's my question. Hopefully I've worded it right as I'm trying to navigate alt here.
Roger. I understand your question. Let me clarify a couple of points. Do you have room to set up a full-length dipole for the band or bands of interest?
I paced it off, and I have about estimated 50 feet of attic space to play with, and I was looking at a commercially available antenna from Alpha Delta, I believe. It's a DXEE, which I believe is a 40, 20, and 10. There's one other band in there I can't think of at the moment.
Probably 40, 20, 15, and 10. Those are fairly common. As long as you have the length, and by the way, with your dipole antenna, the ends can hang down. If you're up near the peak and you go end to end and you hang down 4 or 5 feet of wire to make up the missing 10 feet or whatever, I think you need 62 feet for an unloaded dipole. So dipoles generally tend to be very, they come up on frequency, you cut them to length, and they work extremely well. Your internal antenna tuner would probably handle that very nicely. However, many roofing structures have that metallized mylar as part of their insulation in the roof. If you have that, there's going to be some capacitive reactance between the antenna and that aluminized or whatever that stuff is. I think it's aluminized mylar. It might just be thin aluminum foil. I don't know. But there will be some capacitive reactance with that, and that may require a little bit more tuning than the internal tuner can do. So the best thing, in my opinion, would be set up the antenna, put an antenna analyzer on it. I'm assuming you have an antenna analyzer, either one of the MFJs or a Rig Expert or a Nano VNA?
I do not have one of those. I've always wanted one and have yet to purchase one. I do need to peek up in the attic and see if there's a foil backing on the roof sheathing. I have yet to do that. A lot of this is very preliminary, and so it was very kind of open-ended, unfortunately. And I was kind of aware of the limit. I may be at the limitations of the internal tuner, so that was why I was exploring external tuners that are a bit more forgiving and with more adjustability.
And this is N0NYY Bart, Net Control for this evening's NCARC TechNet. Another option to consider, there's lots of them. I love dipoles myself. I use them a lot. Take them out in the field, set them up, and go. Don't use tuners, don't use balance. I just feed them directly with coax, and they work really well, and I'm very happy with them. There's also a bunch of guys that do the end-fed half-wave thing and other various and sundry versions of this. Another suggestion that you might want to look into is called a slinky antenna. It's basically a dipole made out of a couple slinkies. You do need a tuner, but the bandwidth that you can get with those things is usually fairly good, and one setup can be made to tune a number of bands. With dipoles, if you want a number of bands, you'll put up, if you want 40, 20, and 10, you put a set of 40-meter wires on it, and then you put a set of 20-meter wires on it, and a set of 10-meter wires on it, and they kind of fan out in a shallow V from each other, and they'll each resonate independently without messing up the other bands.
Yeah, the antenna, the commercially available antenna I was looking at is a fan dipole. I failed to mention that, to cover those bands. So it's likely that this is all going to work with the internal tuner, and I'm overthinking it, which is a common problem I get to live with. But also around the property, there's a expanded wire mesh on the 3-rail wood fence, and if I had to guess, there's probably 600 or 800 linear feet of that, and I've always kind of wondered about loading that up at some day and see what kind of interesting adventures I get into with that. So that was kind of the reasoning of looking into a external tuner that would be more apt to experimentation.
Very good. There are other antennas you could consider too. A couple of us have played around with magnetic loop antennas. There are some things to watch out for with those. One of the trade-offs for the very small size is you have a tuning capacitor that's part of the antenna, and that capacitor sees very high voltages, several kV at 100 watts. Something to watch out for. But any other input on Justin's antenna situation? Go ahead and chime in.
Big zero MLG.
LG. Go ahead, Marty.
With a 9-to-1 unknown, $150 or $60 LG G100 and 57 foot of wire, you'd be on the air 80 through 10, actually 80 through 6. Putting a fan dipole up in the attic, I wouldn't want to be up in the attic that much. I'd rather just go up and put one piece of wire and the unknown and run the coax to it and be done with it.
nice thing about AM radio, there are so many ways to do so many different things, and a lot of people here that have experimented with a lot of stuff. Justin, look up my call on QRZ, fire off an email. I would be real happy to play. I have a Nano VNA here. I have a spare. I have 3 MFJ 269s now, which are kind of obsolete but fun to use and educational. Not nearly as effective as the Nano VNA in my personal opinion. Did you have any other parts of your question that haven't been answered, Justin?
No. I just need to do a lot more research and get clearances to even put something up in the attic. Anyways, I am at my destination, so I gotta go. Thank you very much to everyone in the net, KJ6OBC. I'll be clear on your final.
Roger, 7-3, Justin. Have a good evening. Any other questions? Marty, I went ahead and checked you in. Any other questions or comments for the net this evening? Any other late check-ins for the net this evening? Alrighty. Well, in addition to the TechNet, I would like to point out that you can get on this repeater almost any time and find somebody that will have answers to your questions. And one of the neatest things about ham radio is so many people have so much experience, and everybody that does is willing to help, willing to share equipment, share knowledge, give advice, sit and talk over coffee, all that sort of stuff. We all love to do it. So, I have 18 check-ins this evening. I show the net is running about 45 minutes, and at this point, I will go ahead and close the NCARC TechNet. I would like to thank everyone for checking in, and if anyone has further questions this evening, by all means, get on the repeater and ask, because most of us don't. Well, I won't turn the radio off just yet, and I think most people will continue monitoring. So, and as hams, we all look for excuses to communicate. 731 and all, have a good evening. Returning the net or the repeater to normal service in 0 NYY.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.